and try and change it from the inside, you know.
And we're also at an era where some of the artists are almost as popular as the art they're making. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I mean, graffiti happened in a lot of different ways. Where some of the writers were pretty infamous because they were pretty dark anyway as characters, you know. And I remember meeting Case 2 in a tunnel in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? And this is a guy that's like, you know, like legendary. You know what I mean? And I met this guy, you know, pretty dark guy to me, in a tunnel at 116th Street, Lexington layup. You know what I mean? At 5 in the morning. You know what I mean? Off his face. You know what I mean? Pretty much all of our faces. But I think those days of writers being legendary are pretty kind of, I don't know, they're pretty gone now. They're pretty over. I don't know. I think that's a different kind of ilk. I think there's a new breed of people that have come through and are doing stuff. You know, Banksy's done remarkably well for this scene. I think he's made this kind of possible for a lot of these artists to actually do this kind of stuff, really. And regardless of whether you think bandwagon, everyone jumps on something. Everyone, you know, art is imitation. That's what people forget. The first and foremost thing is, you know, art is imitation. I mean, a lot of the early stencil stuff coming out of Spain in the 50s, you know, that kind of Che Guevara, the kind of revolutions, a lot of people got fucked up and serious time in prison for that kind of shit. Probably no different than graffiti writers in New York, you know what I mean? And it's like swings and roundabouts. If you have a bigger perspective of how you see the art. But it's really good to see. I think the biggest thing for me is seeing a lot of young people, I mean, doing a lot of this work, and it's a lot of people doing a lot of the work and really putting a lot of effort into it. And that probably is a bit of a wave of conscious thinking that everyone's trying to make change. And you have to do that. And it just, you know, I guess rebelliousness in the noughties, as they say, isn't just about getting the keys to the train yard. It's kind of, you've got to eat it from the inside out, really. You've got to be different. You've got to be smart about it. Do you know what I mean? I like some of the stuff that the early you know, the Andre the Giant stuff was doing. You know, doing the posters first and then just rolling up and sticking them on the walls. I mean, if that's the way you got to do it, that's the way you got to do it. You know.
The Babylon Academy that arranged, and there was one in Berlin as well.
Yeah.
Is that specifically set up so it could be a collective of urban artists?
I mean, that's the premise, you know, why the guy set it up, I think, to be able to do that. I mean, I think it's a bit like, you know, if you can pull that together and get people's work shown. I mean, essentially, it's the embodiment of work, just getting people's work shown, I think, which generally is a good thing. I mean, this thing could not happen in the West End 15 years ago. It's not going to happen. It wouldn't have happened. You know, and I think that's just because people socially are changing, and people have always liked art. It's one of those things that when we're young we never really think about it. I mean, graffiti turned a lot of people onto a lot of tricks, you know what I mean, in terms of this kind of stuff. And I think we're all artists, really. We all want to be artists underneath. People say you don't, we do. We all would like to have the ability to do that. No matter what it is. When I say art, generally, you know, from music to painting to all of that, it's pretty interesting. But it's a good thing. I mean, I was really surprised at some of the work I saw last time as well. Because I'm really tongue-in-cheek with it, you know. It's like, if you make an old boy graffiti writer, it's got to make the grade, you know. And it's like anything, you know. Some music I like, some I don't.
Are you an artist first or a musician first?
I'm an artist, period. That's what I do. Do you know what I mean? I got up yesterday morning. I mean, my day yesterday, right? My schedule the last 48 hours. I get up in the morning, right? I just start doing the painting at 6 in the morning, right? It's just crazy. 6 in the morning. Get up, walk the dogs, have breakfast, full English. Get in the studio, I'll start hacking through a studio, so I'll do a tune. We didn't finish till this morning. We finished about 7 o'clock this morning, and then I'll start sanding down a piece of work, and then I'll lie down again for a couple of hours, scratch my nuts and come here. So yeah, nothing really changed, has it really, much in the last few years. But it's good really, because I'm active, because the thing is, I think a lot of artists as well, they stay inactive. I've stayed inactive for quite a while. It's only the last 3 years that I really kind of thought, hang on a minute, what's going on here? It's a bit strange, isn't it? People like this shit again. I can't believe it. I was there when it first came out and I hated it. You know what I mean? And that's what really kills you, because you put so much time into it. I've got paintings in my house that people are like, fucking hell, I can't believe you did that. It's 20 years old. I'm like, yeah, but you couldn't give it away.
Do you think it would be different if people didn't know who you were, for yourself?
Doesn't really matter, because I've done everything I wanted to do. I don't think it would. Because the work stands for itself. The depth of the work stands for itself. And that's ultimately what it is. I think, you know, I don't really look at it like that. I look at the stuff that I've got and I look at the depth of it, and I always remember a jeweller saying to me many years ago, because I used to get involved in waxing and doing waxing for jewellery, and I used to do a lot of centrifugal casting, which is something that is really ancient, old-fashioned. I used to hit the hammer, spin it around, oxygen acetylene, you know, and I did a few castings and fucking thing exploded on me. I'm like, it's all going wrong. He goes, well, you see, you know, you're going to have 3 ounces of gold to make 1 ounce of ring. You know, you need 3 ounces of gold behind it. And there's a lot of shit behind me, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff behind me before this stuff come out. I've been doing this shit for years. So it's got substance, you have to have that. You know, that's character, that's different. That's what you really have to have. It's gone through the ego bollocks. That died with my last wife. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You just got to understand that you always. I think the difference is that my marriage to art is a really tumultuous relationship, and I hate the bitch sometimes, but sometimes I love her to death, and I can't leave her alone. I can't stop touching her. It's just what it is, and it's one of those things. It's really quite strange. That's what art is sometimes. Sometimes you can't help doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's weird.